President Trump says he does not see an issue with accepting opposition research from foreign nations in regards to an election. We'll have more from his interview with George Stephanopoulos. Family members of a woman who was killed after being shot are offering a reward for the capture of her suspected killer. And proposed Sunday alcohol sales are being discussed in one eastern Kentucky county. We'll hear from people on both sides of the issue.
Dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News This Morning.
Good morning. It is 6:32 on this Thursday, June the 13th. I'm Will Puckett. Thank you for tuning in to Mountain News this morning. Well, yesterday it rained just a little bit more, but it's bringing some cold temperatures with it today. Brandon, some people might be turning on their heat later tonight.
Exactly, because here's the thing. Temperatures this time of the year usually get down into the 50s and 60s, maybe even some mid-60s at this point. Upper 40s are possible by tonight. Yeah. You heard that right. Let's get into it this morning. Take a look at what's going on right now. Fogged in over at Whitesburg this morning, so be careful if you're heading out the door. Things are looking better for us. The heaviest patches of rain have moved down, but the cold front hasn't completely worked its way through yet. So skies will clear briefly and then maybe a few more clouds. But here's the main issue this morning. Fog and wet roads, so just be careful. Low visibility, less than a mile there. Jackson, Hazard, and Middlesboro at the airport sensors. Temperatures in the upper 50s for the most part, close to 60, so a mild start to the morning. But as you'll see here on the Appcast, they're not going to move a whole lot. Our daytime high is actually before noon, right there around 66, and those chances for scattered showers will continue for a while before those skies start to clear up by tonight. Rest of the forecast on the way here in just a few minutes. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you. Well, President Trump said he would be willing to listen if a foreign government offered damaging information about a political rival. The president also said he would not necessarily tell the FBI about it. Laura Podesta has more from New York.
President Trump said he'd be willing to listen if a foreign government offered dirt on one of his political opponents. Mr. Trump made the comment yesterday in an exclusive interview with George Stephanopoulos of ABC News. The president was asked if his campaign would accept information from another country or if they would report it to the FBI.
I think maybe you do both. I think you might want to listen. There's nothing wrong with listening. If somebody called from a country, Norway, we have information on your opponent. Oh, I think I'd want to hear it.
You want that kind of interference in our elections?
It's not an interference. They have information. I think I'd take it. If I thought there was something wrong, I'd go maybe to the FBI if I thought there was something wrong.
The president's statements prompted a dismayed response from Democrats.
Like many things with Donald Trump, at first you're shocked, and then, of course, you realize, yes, that's exactly him. I think what the president is really saying is, yeah, I knew this was unethical and maybe illegal, and I would do it again.
Former Vice President Joe Biden, the Democratic frontrunner to challenge Mr. Trump in the 2020 election, responded on Twitter, writing, "President Trump is once again welcoming foreign interference in our elections. This isn't about politics. It is a threat to our national security." Laura Podesta, CBS News.
Now, federal law prohibits political candidates from accepting contributions from foreign entities, but it is unclear if courts would consider information to be an in-kind contribution. Well, former White House Communications Director Hope Hicks will testify before the House Judiciary Committee. Lawmakers say Hicks' testimony next Wednesday will be behind closed doors. They plan to ask her about her time at the White House and the Trump campaign. Hicks was subpoenaed last month as part of a wide-ranging probe. The White House could still assert executive privilege to prevent her from answering questions about her time with the administration. Democratic presidential candidate Andrew Yang is expanding a test run for his universal basic income proposal. He says he found a second person who will receive $1,000 a month for a year. No questions asked. This time, it is a 41-year-old man in Iowa who cares for his mother and is worried about losing their house. The New York businessman is already paying a similar monthly stipend of his own money to a voter in New Hampshire. The goal is to make a point about his proposed universal basic income for all American adults. A new commemorative forever stamp honors former President George H.W. Bush. It was unveiled by the U.S. Postal Service Wednesday on what would have been his 95th birthday. The stamp was officially dedicated at the Bush Presidential Center in College Station, Texas. Members of the Bush family attended the event. Well, nearly 8 decades later, military officials identified a sailor killed at Pearl Harbor as a Pike County man. This is Millard Burke Jr. He was only 19 when 429 crewmen of the USS Oklahoma were killed on December 7, 1941, as the Japanese attacked. Scientists used dental records and other methods to learn Burke's identities. Burke will be buried at the Punch Bowl later this year on July 19th. Rallies took place across the country Wednesday in support of canceling part of Puerto Rico's $72 billion debt. This as a federal judge looks at whether to dismiss about $17 billion of the debt. The portion of the debt comes in question from illegal pension bonds. Supporters of #Cancel the Debt say the money is urgently needed by the Puerto Rican government for Hurricane Maria recovery efforts. Thousands of protesters blocked entry to Hong Kong's government headquarters on Wednesday, delaying the legislative session on a proposed extradition bill that has heightened fears over greater communist control. The bill would allow the prisoners in Hong Kong to be extradited to mainland China. Party officials denounced the protests, calling them, quote, planned and intentional riots. Maine Governor Janet Mills signed the state's recently passed assisted suicide bill. It allows physicians under very specific circumstances to help people take their own lives. It was approved by both chambers of the state's legislature. When the governor signed the bill into law Wednesday afternoon, she also signed an executive order directing state authorities to carefully monitor its implementation.
I hope that this law, while respecting the right of personal liberty, will be used sparingly, that we will respect the life of every citizen with the utmost concern for their spiritual and physical well-being, and that as a society we will be as vigorous in providing full comfort, hospice, and palliative care to all persons, no matter their status, location, or financial ability, as we are in respecting their right to make this ultimate decision over their own fate of their own free will.
Maine is the 8th state to legalize some sort of death with dignity legislation. Well, Kentucky lawmakers now have less than 3 weeks before some quasi-governmental agencies have to pay more for pension costs. Yesterday, House Democratic leaders invited Governor Bevin to a face-to-face meeting. They say they want to come to an agreement on a pension plan before the July 1st deadline. Governor Bevin's proposal still does not have enough support to pass. He has said he would not call a special session until the votes were there. Well, it has been 3 weeks since a Whitley County woman was found shot to death. Investigators think her boyfriend, Nicholas Rucker, this man right here on your screen, is the one who pulled the trigger. He is still on the run and may have been last spotted in Tennessee. WIMT's Phil Pendleton talked to the family of Vicki Connor and explains what they're doing to catch her suspected killer.
For 3 weeks now, word of a killer on the loose has many in the Corbin area remaining on edge.
We're just worried for the community in general. He took her life senseless, needlessly, and then just took off.
Nicholas Rucker has remained on the run ever since police say that he shot and killed his girlfriend Vicki Connor at a home in Woodbine where the two had been staying.
Vicki was the type of person that if I had a bad day, no matter what kind of day she had, I could go to her and lay in her arms and she would comfort me, listen to me.
All this time without word of his arrest has Wagner trying to raise money that she says will go to a reward for the person who ultimately provides the tip to help police.
Maybe the money will motivate somebody to come forward and to say that they've actually seen him and stay on him until law enforcement can get to him.
She believes someone is helping him, and if that's true, police say that person will face charges.
He's a dangerous man. I don't know him personally. I know the talk of him around town, and I knew the way he treated Vicki.
Police say despite some reports of him being in Tennessee, there is no solid evidence that he has left the area and headed south. In Whitley County, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
Now, Nancy Wagner says the rewards goal is $10,000, but any amount they receive will go to the tipster. All information should be given to Kentucky State Police in London. Consideration of Sunday alcohol sales has become a hot topic at recent Wolfe County Fiscal Court meetings. Officials say the county became a wet county back in 1991, giving businesses the right to sell Monday through Saturday. In February's meeting, Magistrate Wade Gibbs says several people voted to have an ordinance created allowing for Sunday alcohol sales, which must now be approved by the Fiscal Court. To move forward, the court must have 2 public readings of this ordinance approved by majority vote. We talked with people on both sides who shared what they feel are benefits and drawbacks of the possible change.
Powell County has sales on Sunday. Breathitt County has sales on Sunday. So it's difficult for us now that we're in a position that we're sending people elsewhere.
I'm opposed to the sale of alcohol, period. I wish that it wasn't on the market because I think it destroys a lot of lives.
Now, county officials plan to present the ordinance to the public in upcoming meetings, which takes place the second Tuesday of every month at 1:30 in the afternoon. Well, the University of Kentucky basketball coach, you may have heard his name once or twice, even on this broadcast, John Calipari, visited the root beer stand in Corbin Tuesday. Employees say they had no idea Coach Cal was coming by. One waitress said she spotted him and immediately knew who he was, and Coach asked them to take some pictures. Even though the employees were going to let him eat in peace, the pictures Coach Calipari generously posted is something employees and locals both will never forget.
As soon as he left last night, people started rolling in, wanting to know what he ate, where he parked, what was his favorite thing, so it was an immediate impact, immediate.
Such a cool dude. Employees say some of the favorite foods were a hamburger and, of course, a root beer float. Well, it's 6:42 in the morning. Let's send it on over to Brandon for a breakdown of your Thursday weather. Brandon?
Forecast this morning, unfortunately, soggy at times for some folks, especially some wet roads and some fog still left over this morning, but the heaviest bands of rain have moved out. The skies are even trying to clear a little bit, but again, remember that we're going to see that cold front still passing through, some more clouds than sun at times, and the more chances for some spotty showers throughout the day. Most of the heavy rain still over into parts of Buchanan County moving out. Visibility is our big problem this morning, so just be careful out there. Lots of dense fog. Temperatures kind of hovering right there close to 60 in most locations. Your out-the-door forecast, your daytime high will actually be before lunchtime, right around 11 o'clock this morning, and then after that we start to slide as those cooler temperatures come into play behind the cold front. And tonight, those heaters might have to go back on. Will?
All righty, Brandon, thank you. Well, we will have some stories y'all are clicking on this morning on WYMT.com next. As always, thank you for joining us right here on Mountain News this morning.